Friends, thank you for being here today. What if I told you that the diploma you spent 4 years and a fortune to earn is effectively expiring the moment you walk across the stage? And how do we navigate a world where the very skills we were told to master are being automated away by machines that never sleep? To understand the magnitude of this shift, we must first look at the broken promise, the growing disconnect between earning a degree and securing employment. On the morning of May 16th, 2025, a young graduate named Michael woke up to prepare for his commencement ceremony at Villanova University. It was a day defined by the traditional markers of success: the donning of the graduation gown, the gathering of family and friends who had traveled from across the country, and the ceremonial walk across the stage to receive a diploma. At that moment, Michael felt he was on top of the world. He was armed with the tangible proof of 4 years of hard work and was eager to apply his skills to the labor market, attain employment, and finally step into the role of an independent adult. However, flash forward a few months, and the euphoria of graduation had been replaced by a demoralizing reality. By November 2024, Michael had already been searching for a job for months, applying anywhere and everywhere, yet finding it difficult to secure even initial interviews. His experience reflects a growing sentiment among his peers. The job market is incredibly difficult, arguably trash, for new graduates. If seasoned professionals with years of experience are struggling, the hurdle for college students with no track record is nearly insurmountable. This personal struggle is symptomatic of a much larger economic shift. For the first time in modern history, a bachelor's degree is no longer a reliable path to professional employment. While the broader labor market might appear strong with generally low unemployment rates, a closer inspection reveals a different story for the youth. The unemployment rate among young American workers aged 16 to 24 stood at 10.4% in September. This figure has been trending upward since April 2023, representing a worrisome deviation from the historical norm where college graduates were considered the safest workers in the economy. Economists and analysts warn that this rise in youth unemployment is not merely a temporary blip, but potentially a canary in the coal mine for the broader economy. Graduating into a recession or a stagnant labor market leaves long-lasting scars on a worker's financial life that can persist for decades. If these vital entrants to the labor market are faltering, it suggests the economy itself may be slowing down or heading toward a recession. The root of this crisis lies in a fundamental imbalance of supply and demand. For decades, the cultural narrative in the West has pushed college for all, resulting in a workforce that is becoming more and more educated over time. The supply of workers holding a bachelor's degree has increased significantly. However, the demand for these workers is no longer keeping pace. In the past, earning a degree led to a steady job with a good salary, but today, young graduates in the West are finding fewer opportunities. The statistics are stark. In 2010, there was approximately a 6 percentage point difference in unemployment between young people in general and those with a degree. Today, that gap has narrowed to just a 1 percentage point difference. This trend is not isolated to the United States. In the European Union, the unemployment rate of young people with tertiary education is approaching the overall rate for that age group. The premium on education is evaporating. One theory suggests that universities are accepting less talented applicants and failing to teach them effectively, leading employers to see little difference between the average graduate and someone without a degree. Another theory is that fewer jobs actually require graduate level qualifications. In the past, attending university was often necessary just to learn how to use a computer, the strange world of the frontiers of science. Today, digital literacy is ubiquitous, rendering that specific university advantage obsolete. Furthermore, the industries that traditionally absorb these graduates are shrinking their intake. Across the European Union, the number of 15 to 24-year-olds employed in finance and insurance fell by 16% from 2009 to 2024. Similarly, since 2016, the number of British 20 somethings in law and finance has fallen by 10%. The golden age of investment banking hiring sprees, which thrived before the global financial crisis of 2007 to 2009, is over. However, this is not just about economic cycles. We need to talk about the AI displacement that is effectively removing the bottom rung of the career ladder. While economic cycles play a role, a new and permanent disruptor has entered the arena: artificial intelligence. The decline in graduate jobs may have started before the widespread adoption of generative AI, but the technology is now accelerating the trend by fundamentally altering the structure of the white collar workforce. The primary mechanism of this disruption is the automation of entry level roles. Historically, new graduates were hired to perform the grunt work of the professional world: writing basic code, drafting initial reports, summarizing meetings, and conducting low level data analysis. These tasks served as a training ground where junior employees learned the ropes before advancing to more complex strategic roles. AI and machine learning have now mastered these tasks. From a business standpoint, the logic is undeniable. An AI system can produce results faster and cheaper than a human junior associate. It does not require health insurance, it does not take sick days, and it works instantaneously. Employers are making the rational choice to cut costs and streamline operations, but this efficiency comes at the expense of the entry-level career path. Young workers are feeling this impact most acutely. A Stanford study found that since 2022, unemployment for 22 to 25-year-olds in highly AI exposed jobs has dropped by 13%, while older workers in roles less exposed to AI automation have seen their employment rates remain steady or even grow. Goldman Sachs predicts that AI could displace 6 to 7% of the United States workforce over the next decade. This is not a future threat, it is happening now. Major corporations are shifting their resources away from hiring humans and toward building AI infrastructure. Amazon serves as a prime example of this pivot. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Amazon went on a massive hiring spree, with its workforce ballooning to 1.6 million employees globally in 2021. By 2024, that count had shrunk to 1.5 million. Moving into 2025, the company announced plans to lay off about 14,000 corporate employees as it restructures for the AI era. This marks a multi-year effort to shift resources toward their biggest bets, including generative AI. The phenomenon can be described as growth without hiring. Tech companies, in particular, are discovering that they can maintain or even increase their output with fewer staff members. The AI systems capable of writing code, especially at the junior level, have become incredibly proficient. Consequently, the need for a vast army of junior engineers has diminished. This creates a bottleneck for new computer science graduates who find that the roles they trained for are being automated away. The Federal Reserve has taken notice of this trend, observing a significant number of companies announcing hiring freezes or layoffs while simultaneously touting their investments in AI capabilities. While some experts argue that the current layoffs are merely a correction of the overhiring that occurred during the pandemic, the persistence of the trend into late 2025 suggests a structural change. Even without AI, the labor shortages of 2021 to 2023 forced companies to learn how to operate with fewer people. Now, armed with powerful automation tools, they are unlikely to return to previous staffing levels. The impact extends beyond the tech sector. Private technology companies and large public firms alike are seeing a decline in young professional workforces. A study by the compensation platform PAVE found that between January 2023 and July 2025, the number of young workers at large public technology companies fell by more than half. This shrinkage of the young professional class has cascading economic effects. If these workers cannot secure jobs, they cannot spend money in the economy, they cannot buy homes, and their tax contributions decrease. This cycle threatens to widen income inequality, which is already a significant problem. Between 1989 and 2022, the top 1% gained about 101 times more wealth than the median household. As the bottom rung of the career ladder is sawed off by automation, the path to upward mobility becomes increasingly inaccessible, potentially leading to political instability and demands for income redistribution. Beyond the immediate displacement of jobs, we have to confront a deeper issue: the erosion of the degree signal itself. Beyond the immediate displacement of jobs, AI is corroding the very foundation of the university degree's value, its ability to signal competence. For decades, the signaling theory of education held that a degree was valuable not necessarily because of the specific knowledge learned, but because it proved a student possessed a bundle of desirable traits. Getting into and graduating from a university signaled intelligence, conscientiousness, a certain class background, and the ability to complete complex tasks. Employers use the degree as a proxy for these traits, specifically the ability to read vast amounts of text, synthesize that information into a coherent idea, and write it down in understandable sentences was a core skill signaled by a liberal arts education. It demonstrated cognitive stamina and critical thinking. However, AI has undercut this signal entirely. Today, a student can use ChatGPT or similar tools to generate essays, summarize readings, and solve problem sets with minimal cognitive effort. If a machine can perform the reading and writing, the resulting diploma no longer proves that the human holding it possesses those skills. The integrity of the educational process is facing a crisis. Research and anecdotal evidence suggest that the use of AI for coursework is rampant. A poll of 1,000 college students conducted shortly after the launch of ChatGPT showed that almost 90% of them use the chatbot to help with homework. More recent stories, such as that of a computer science major at Columbia University named Chungin Roy Lee, highlight the scale of the issue. Lee admitted to using OpenAI on almost all his assignments, estimating that 80% of his essays were AI generated, with only 20% of his own humanity added for finishing touches. He received 100% of the grade for 20% of the effort. This behavior is driven by a cynical but rational cost benefit analysis by students. Many view college assignments not as opportunities for learning, but as irrelevant obstacles to be hacked. If the goal is simply to get the credential, to get the job, and AI can secure the grade with less effort, students will use it. This transactionalist view extends to class attendance. A Harvard student noted that with tuition at $56,550 a year, every missed class costs roughly $117.81. Yet, students skip because they feel they can learn the material faster on their own or with AI assistance. The non monetary cost of wasting time in a lecture that doesn't provide new value outweighs the financial loss. Universities are struggling to respond to this existential threat. They are described by some critics as medieval institutions that are ill equipped to handle the speed of modern technological change. Faculty members are often selected for their ability to publish niche research in areas like 14th century literature, not for their ability to train a workforce for an AI driven economy. They are not incentivized to police cheating effectively. Catching a student using AI creates paperwork, administrative headaches, and potential liability for the professor. It is often easier to turn a blind eye. As a result, the signal is degrading. If a graduate enters the workforce having cheated their way through college, and employers realize that the degree no longer guarantees basic cognitive or writing outcomes, the market value of that degree will plummet. The sheepskin effect, the wage premium associated with possessing the diploma itself, relies on trust that the diploma means something. AI is rapidly eroding that trust. While the traditional path falters, we are witnessing the rise of alternatives, specifically the surging value of skilled trades. As the white collar path becomes fraught with uncertainty and diminishing returns, a different sector of the economy is experiencing a renaissance, the skilled trades. While young graduates struggle to find unpaid internships or entry level roles, 18-year-olds with technical skills are commanding high salaries immediately after high school, often with zero debt. This shift is exemplified by stories like that of the welding program at Father Judge High School in Philadelphia. All 24 graduating seniors in the school's welding program received job offers starting at $50,000 and above. One student, Aidan Holland, secured a commitment of $75,000 a year from a defense contractor to work as a nuclear submarine welder right out of high school. This reality challenges the long held stigma that technical education is a dumping ground for low skilled students. Instead, it is becoming a lucrative and secure alternative to the college debt trap. The demand for these roles is driven by severe labor shortages. The construction and trades industries are short hundreds of thousands of workers, with approximately 40% of the current workforce expected to retire in the next 5 to 7 years. Unlike entry level coding or copywriting, jobs in plumbing, welding, and electrical work are difficult to automate. AI cannot fix a leaky pipe or weld a submarine hull. These practical jobs offer a level of security that the digital economy currently lacks. This resurgence of interest in the trades aligns with the findings of the classic finance book, The Millionaire Next Door. The authors found that a significant proportion of wealth in America is held not by high status professionals like doctors and lawyers, but by self employed tradespeople and small business owners. These individuals often live in modest neighborhoods, avoid debt, and reinvest their profits, accumulating substantial wealth over time. In contrast, high income white collar professionals often fall into the trap of lifestyle inflation, living paycheck to paycheck to maintain an image of success in expensive neighborhoods. The math is compelling. A tradesperson who starts working at age 18, earning a solid salary and investing early, can be financially ahead of a college graduate who enters the workforce at 22 or 23 with significant student loan debt and a lower starting salary. The cultural perception is slowly catching up to this economic reality. Even at the highest levels of government, there is a shift away from the college for all mentality. Executive orders and policy shifts are beginning to emphasize skills based hiring and the modernization of workforce programs to prepare citizens for skilled trade jobs, recognizing that a one size fits all approach to education is no longer viable. Parents, too, are beginning to see the light. When faced with the prospect of their children earning six figures with full benefits and a pension through a union apprenticeship versus the uncertainty of a general liberal arts degree, the skepticism regarding vocational schools evaporates. The realization is dawning that success is not defined by the prestige of the institution, but by the financial stability and utility of the skill set acquired. Given these shifts, the question becomes, how do we adapt to this new reality, and how must students and schools pivot? For those who do pursue a university education, the strategy must change. If technical skills like coding are at risk of becoming obsolete within a few years, evidenced by the jump from 74% to 91% of IT professionals worrying about AI redundancy. In just 1 year, students must focus on what machines cannot do. The future of white collar work lies in soft skills, traits such as empathy, critical thinking, reliability, negotiation, and the ability to build relationships are becoming the new currency. AI may be able to process data and write reports, but it cannot navigate complex social dynamics, persuade a hesitant client, or provide genuine emotional care. Jobs with complex social interactions are likely to remain human centric. Therefore, students should view their education not just as a transfer of information, but as a training ground for human connection. To preserve the value of the degree, universities must also revolutionize how they assess learning. If take home essays are compromised, the system must return to cheat proof methods. This means a return to blue book exams written in class with pen and paper, oral exams where students must verbally defend their ideas, and a heavy emphasis on class participation. The goal is to verify that the human being, not the algorithm, possesses the knowledge. Furthermore, ignoring AI is not an option. Employers are increasingly seeking AI fluent graduates. Handshake, a career site for college students, reported a five-fold increase in job postings, listing AI skills since 2023. The definition of literacy is expanding to include the ability to prompt AI, effectively understand its limitations, and use it to augment human productivity. Students who can balance their own expertise with the efficiency of AI tools will stand out. Educational leaders like Michael Crow of Arizona State University argue for a shift toward creating master learners. In a world where specific knowledge becomes outdated rapidly, the primary goal of university should be to teach students how to learn anything, adapt to anything, and adjust to anything. Whether a student majors in opera or physics matters less than their ability to navigate change. This master learner model envisions a graduate who is not a repository of fixed facts, but an adaptive agent capable of reinventing themselves as the economy evolves. Finally, the role of experience cannot be overstated. In a saturated market, work experience is the great differentiator. Research shows that graduates who completed internships were 23% more likely to start a full time position within 6 months of graduation. In fields like oil, gas, and mining, this gap rose to 65%. Networking, the act of building human relationships with mentors and peers, remains a safeguard against automation. A personal recommendation from a former supervisor carries a weight that an automated resume screen cannot replicate. Yet, amidst this disruption, there is a silver lining. We may be witnessing the dawn of hyperproductivity, which is redefining human potential. While the immediate outlook for traditional employment appears grim, there exists a counter narrative that suggests the death of the degree may be the birth of something far more profound, the era of hyperproductivity. Michael Crow, the president of Arizona State University, describes artificial intelligence as the most disruptive technology in the history of mankind, not solely because it destroys jobs, but because it fundamentally alters the scaling of human intellect. He posits that we now have a walking, talking reference library available on any subject, effectively democratizing access to high level knowledge that was once the exclusive domain of the elite. This shift has the potential to accelerate human progress at a geometric rate. In the research laboratories of major universities, the impact is already visible. Crow notes that research groups are using advanced AI to solve previously unsolvable problems, from managing the complex flow of the Mississippi River to processing new materials. Most strikingly, a study by faculty at his university found that the work equivalent to a dissertation in genetics, which traditionally took months or years, could potentially be completed in just 14 days. This compression of time suggests that the PhD, the student of the future, might not just complete one major project, but the equivalent of 20 PhDs. Such an exponential increase in output reframes the value of education entirely. The degree, as a static certification of past learning, becomes less relevant than the dynamic capability to wield these new tools. If a single researcher can do the work of 20, the pace of discovery for curing cancer, restoring sight to the blind, or treating neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's could speed up dramatically. This is the optimistic flip side of the labor market crisis. While the job as a unit of economic security is threatened, the work of humanity solving our greatest challenges may be entering a golden age. This transition, however, demands a psychological resilience from the rising generation. The optimism expressed by graduates facing this tough market reflects a stoic realization: hard times create strong people. This generation is being forced to abandon the comfortable, linear path promised to their parents: go to school, get a degree, get a job, retire, and instead forge a nonlinear path defined by adaptability. They are learning not to take employment for granted, but to view their careers as a series of adaptive challenges. In this new allocation economy, the premium shifts from the accumulation of knowledge to the allocation of judgment. Because AI can provide the most probable answer to almost any question, the human skill that retains value is the ability to ask the right question. It is about moving from being an industrial worker who processes information to an architect who designs the inquiry. The master learner concept is thus not just an educational buzzword, but a survival strategy. It requires students to possess the grit to navigate a world where the tools are constantly changing, and the determination to use those tools to enhance rather than replace their mental capabilities. Therefore, the narrative is not strictly one of loss, but of transformation. The destruction of the traditional entry level white collar job is painful, and the anxiety it produces is real. Yet, for those who can harness these advanced hyperspeed calculators, as Crow calls them, the ceiling of what is possible has effectively vanished. We are moving toward a future where a single individual, armed with AI and a master learner mindset, can achieve outcomes that previously required entire departments. The value of the degree dies so that the value of the human potential can be reborn, uncapped and unrestricted by the old industrial models of education. Ultimately, this brings us to a crucial conclusion about what the future holds for the degree and for us. The era of the bachelor's degree as a guaranteed golden ticket to the middle class is over. The convergence of AI automation, which removes the bottom rungs of the professional ladder, and a saturation of degree holders, has fundamentally altered the economic landscape. The signal that a degree once provided is being scrambled by widespread AI facilitated academic dishonesty, forcing a crisis of confidence in higher education. However, this disruption brings clarity. It exposes the flaws in the college for all narrative and highlights the immense, often overlooked value of skilled trades. We are moving toward a dual track economy where a welder can financially outperform a white collar middle manager. For those who remain in the university path, value will no longer come from merely completing assignments, but from developing deeply human skills, empathy, adaptability, and leadership that algorithms cannot replicate. The future belongs not to those with the most prestigious piece of paper, but to those with the agility to pivot. Whether through the sparks of a welding torch or the nuanced negotiation of a boardroom, the winners of the next economy will be those who can do what the machines cannot. The degree is not dead, but its automatic authority has expired. Its value must now be proven, earned, and constantly reinvented every single day.